Kenya Medical Training College, KMTC, is delighted to announce its 93rd graduation ceremony scheduled for Thursday, December 5th, 2024 at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, Nairobi from 8 a.m. Graduates are reminded to pay a non-refundable graduation fee of 4,000 shillings using the payment details provided on the screen. Graduation gowns can be collected at the college headquarters, and the graduation booklet is available for download on the KMTC website. For more details on the graduation, training programs, intakes and application procedures, visit www.kmtc.ac.ke. KMTC, training for better health.
Bottom, alafu. Bottom.
2 years at the helm of the country's leadership. How does the government's scorecard look like? What interventions has the government deployed to support the realization of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda? Bettering lives the better way. This Thursday at 9:30 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Well, from wherever you're watching us, welcome to KBC Prime Edition, coming to you live from Broadcasting House. Tonight,
the Ministry of Foreign Affairs announces the 60th anniversary celebrations of Kenya's diplomatic journey.
Plus, it's also Tuesday, so we shift over to the other studio. Regina Manyana, what do we have tonight?
So tonight, the government has an ambitious plan of having, or rather growing, diaspora remittance to 1 trillion shillings by the year 2027. One of the strategies is the 1 million job placement, exercise, targeting especially the youth. So the question is it a feasible program? This comes amid concerns of growing disquiet under youth unemployment, especially that account for over 67% of those who are unemployed. So tonight, we're going to be looking at the interventions within the labor market, as well as the challenges and how we are circumventing this storm. But take it away, Tom.
Very well. So if you have any thoughts, any questions, what areas you care about, speak to us on our socials, which are?
At KBC Channel 1 on Facebook, X and YouTube. My name is Mchuma Odim.
That's right. And before we take our highlights, let's just take a look at our guest who's on shift tonight, walking in. If you can have that video rolling. There you are. He's just walked in, driven in, being ushered in through our studios. Our guest tonight, remember the shift. Regina, my colleague, spoke about the topical areas that they're going to tackle. So if you have any questions, any comments, and any areas that you care about, speak to us on those social media platforms that we have, which are?
At KBC Channel 1 on Facebook, YouTube, and...
Very well. First things first, as they say, a look at our top stories, starting right now.
Kasema siku moja nilisaidia Agwambo. Na safari hii yeye amerudisha mkono, amenisaidia mimi.
A rousing welcome for President Ruto in Kisumu City as he lauds Raila Odinga for helping in stabilizing his government.
A boost for local manufacturing of vaccines as Kenya is selected to host a major vaccine project.
Plus, evangelical and Pentecostal clerics push for the reconstitution of the electoral body.
A warm welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language expert tonight is Susan Thuku.
Straight to our top story. President William Ruto received a rousing welcome at Kondele in Kisumu just moments after he officially opened the 4th Afrexim Bank Sub-Summit in Kisumu County.
The president used the platform to explain the role opposition chief Raila Odinga played in stabilizing his government in the wake of the Gen Z-led protests and internal wrangles in Kenya Kwanza with the then deputy president.
Achola Simon opens our coverage with that report from the lakeside city of Kisumu.
Saa chache baada ya kutia saini mkataba wa mabilioni ya pesa na benki ya Afrexim Bank katika kongamano la 4 linaloendelea la serikali za magatuzi, kiongozi wa taifa alihutubia umma katika mzunguko maarufu wa magari ya Kondele ambapo alipokelewa kwa vifijo na nderemo.
Mimi nawauliza
A small mix-up there. We apologize. We're going to get you the right one a little later on. But let's move on and see what's happening in the area of church matters. The Kenya Council of Church Ministries and Alliances calling on the president to kickstart the reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
The council, which brings together the leadership of the Evangelical and Pentecostal churches of Kenya, say the absence of a functional IEBC may cause jitters and raise political temperatures ahead of the 2027 general election.
Here now is that report.
The clergy argues that to avoid unnecessary anxiety and speculations regarding the 2027 elections, the president must immediately begin the process of reconstituting the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC.
The delay in reconstituting the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, is an issue that must be addressed urgently to avoid unnecessary anxiety and speculations in regard to the 2027 elections. We are also aware of a section of Kenyans who are left out without representation in this country.
The religious leaders also urged the government to take decisive action to address the concerns raised by Kenyans about the challenges they face in accessing health care through the Social Health Insurance Fund.
This change was meant to be the beginning of a major transformation towards universal health coverage. Instead, it has left many Kenyans without functional health insurance covers, forcing them to dig deeper into their pockets to access health care at a time of significant economic hardship.
They further called on the government to avert public university lecturer strike, saying the education crisis must be a thing of the past.
We implore on government to take urgent steps to stabilize educational institutions, which is critical to the nation's future. This includes addressing the new university funding model coupled with the financial struggles being experienced in many public universities across this country.
The religious leaders further demanding the fast-tracking of the investigation into killings and abductions of protesters.
The people responsible of all these killings have not been brought to book. We ask the government to fast-track the investigations and bring the culprits to justice.
They, however, commended the cancellation of the JKIA and Ketraco Adani contracts, while also calling for transparency and public participation in similar engagements in future. Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
To that story we mentioned earlier on, the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs has announced the 60th anniversary celebrations of Kenya's diplomatic journey.
The celebrations, which are expected to run between November the 26th and December the 7th of 2024, will feature a series of public events and activities in a bid to honor Kenya's rich diplomatic legacy as well as aspirations for the future.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who doubles up as Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary on Tuesday, said that the 60th anniversary celebrations will include high-level events that capture Kenya's diplomatic journey and highlight its future aspirations.
For 6 decades, Kenya has been at the forefront of diplomacy, advocating for mutual respect, dialogue, and unity on the global stage. This has been to the benefit of our citizens as Kenya undertakes its role of a global citizen.
The ultimate document that will be launched on the 2nd is going to be a document that reflects the broad perspectives of Kenyans and truly captures their aspirations.
Now back to our top story. We have smoothened those rough edges. President William Ruto received a rousing welcome at Kondele in Kisumu just moments after he officially opened the 4th Afrexim Bank Sub-Summit in Kisumu County.
The president used the platform to explain the role opposition chief Raila Odinga played in stabilizing his government in the wake of the Gen Z-led protests and internal wrangles in Kenya Kwanza with the deputy president of that time.
Now, Chola Simon is the one who puts that story in perspective.
Moments after he inked a multi-billion shilling deal with Afrexim Bank at the ongoing 4th African Sub-Sovereign Governments Network, the president made a stopover at the famous Kondele roundabout to a momentous reception.
Mimi nawauliza, ni ungwana kwamba Mkenya mwingine anaweza kwenda hospitali akaambiwa aenda nyumbani kwa sababu hana uwezo wa kulipa? Sio ni dhulma? Na ndio tumesema under the new universal healthcare program, every citizen of Kenya will access healthcare, and we are going to make sure those who cannot afford to pay, the government of Kenya is going to pay for them.
Accompanied by a host of local leaders, the president reiterated his commitment to ensure Raila Odinga is elected as the chair of the African Union Commission. The president said Raila came in handy to help stabilize the country at the time his government was facing both internal and external turmoil.
Mimi nilisimama hapa Kondele, nikasema siku moja nilisaidia Agwambo, na safari hii yeye amerudisha mkono, amenisaidia mimi. Mimi nawauliza, iko makosa hapo? Iko makosa? Iko makosa? Tuendelee ama tuendelee? Tuendelee ama tuendelee? Mimi nikiongea na nyinyi sasa, si tulikubaliana Agwambo tunaenda kumuombea ili awe kiongozi wa Afrika. Nikiongea na nyinyi saa hizi, juzi alikuwa kule Ivory Coast, jana amekuwa kule Senegal, leo ako kule Nigeria akitafuta kura ya kuwa kiongozi wa bara la Afrika. Nyinyi watu wa Kenya mtamuombea?
Kisumu Governor Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o used the forum to ask for more investment in infrastructure in the region.
Both levels of government must invest on the improvement of infrastructure as an enabler for economic growth and robust trade. We need physical infrastructures like rail. The new railroad being built from Mombasa to Kisumu, the standard gauge railroad, Your Excellency, is a must. And it has go to Uganda as well.
Earlier, the president had opened the 4th African Sub-Sovereign Governments Network conference where he inked a 3 billion shillings deal with Afrexim Bank for infrastructural improvement.
We have a framework agreement with Afrexim Bank of $3 billion, and they have supported many aspects in our economy. They have supported our imports of fuel. They have supported our commodities trade. They have supported many other aspects, and today we are going to be signing off some of the agreements that we have made in various other areas, including our infrastructure support program on roads.
The bank will also invest in the improvement and completion of aggregated special economic zones across the country. Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
All right, from the president tour in Kisumu to Health Watch, Kenya has been selected as the country host for the Advancing Vaccine and to End Capabilities AVEC project office, which will support the manufacturing of vaccines locally.
Speaking during the signing of a memorandum of understanding with the International Vaccine Institute, Health Cabinet Secretary Deborah Baraza said that partnership is a significant step towards strengthening vaccine development and immunization programs, advancing Kenya's universal health coverage (UHC) agenda, and also supporting global health efforts.
The ongoing negotiations soon and officially open the office here in Kenya. And as we sign the MOU between the government of Kenya and IVI today, I urge all involved to commit fully to realizing the objective of this collaboration. This partnership will help establish an ecosystem to build robust vaccine innovations and production capacities, moving us closer to vaccine self-sufficiency and self-resilience for the benefit of Kenyans and the entire region.
The IVI's activity within Africa and bringing more countries into this cooperative network, I think actually will help Kenya's still nascent but soon to be growing vaccine industry, because markets are going to be a critical part of the sustainability of Kenya's efforts.
Around 2026, because setting up the facility is both time intensive and cost intensive. But we are well on track according to the plans in place. Thank you.
Moving on, the head of public service, Felix Koskei, has distanced himself from a story appearing on one of the dailies in relation to an alleged classified spying software deal.
Koskei has termed the story malicious and a deliberate attempt to tarnish his name and reputation.
Now, the head of public service says that no attempt was made by the media house to contact him for his response before his name and photograph were used in the published story.
Furthermore, Koskei says one Mary Washuka and Jipe associated company with the spying software company are strangers to him and is demanding an immediate apology and retraction of the story failure, to which he will seek legal redress.
Looking inward now, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is collaborating with the government as well as the private sector to expand its digital infrastructure and also promote equitable access in the wake of digital broadcasting.
The managing director, Agnes Kaleche, challenged broadcasters to embrace innovation while staying true to the societal values to ensure broadcasting remains a force for good in the society.
Kaleche spoke when she graced the Future of Broadcasting conference hosted by the Digital Broadcasters Association Kenya, that brought together industry players to discuss challenges and also solutions of the broadcasting industry in this digital age.
The Future of Broadcasting Conference 2024 held under the theme Building a Vibrant, Diverse and Sustainable Broadcast Media, so industry players converged to review emerging trends in digital broadcasting era. Mergers and collaborations as well as quality over quantity in content were cited as necessities for media sustainability.
If you have 2 hours of content, please generate the 2 hours content and put it on a platform. Don't start opening a media house, because if you have a channel on Signet, you have to pay for it, whether you're doing 2 hours or 24 hours.
The media was also urged to ensure inclusivity and diversity in their programs in adherence to the programming code.
This approach not only serves our audience better, but also strengthens our cultural heritage as a country.
We must be in a position to upskill our skills in a way that we are able to meet the global demand. We must have the right policies and legislative framework that will be able to support the operations of media industry.
The National Broadcaster cited financial sustainability and the digital divide as challenges in fulfillment of its public service mandate.
Operating on a tight budget can limit innovation, but we are actively exploring partnership and innovating funding models to support our programming. Additionally, we are committed to continuously training our staff with the skills to keep pace with the rapid technological changes.
She, however, said that despite these challenges, KBC remains committed to its vision of becoming a digital-first broadcaster that embraces innovation and inclusivity while exploring emerging technologies like AI for content personalization. Here's Far reporting for Prime Edition.
Meanwhile, the Chinese Embassy in Kenya and the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation have partnered to promote professionalism and integrity in journalism.
That's right. The collaboration, launched Tuesday morning at a Nairobi hotel, includes a 2-day training program aimed at equipping KBC journalists with the critical skills that are required that then will enhance their work.
Speaking at the event, KBC Editor-in-Chief Samuel Maina emphasized the importance of continuous learning and benchmarking, especially as technology continues to transform the media landscape.
So we want to enhance this collaboration between KBC and the Chinese Embassy so that we up our game by learning from the best. China is ahead in technology, and we can learn from the best. You can also send some journalists from China to come and work with our team here, and we also send our journalists to China. That exchange of knowledge is very important.
He noted that the partnership will foster mutual growth among journalists from Kenya and China.
We have many goals to achieve, and I'm confident we can rely on a continued support of the Chinese Embassy in Kenya, and I look forward to more engagement and partnership in future.
On his part, Chinese Deputy Ambassador to Kenya, Zhang Xingzong, highlighted the significant role journalists play in nation building.
Journalists and reporters, you are the core of media and also the key factors in the success of media in convening the information and shaping perceptions and even leading a country or nation into a correct direction.
He urged reporters and editors to uphold ethics and deliver factual, verified information to their audiences, emphasizing that integrity is the cornerstone of responsible journalism.
Speaking in one way while practicing another way. This is why I don't believe that the artificial intelligence could really replace human journalists and editors, because artificial intelligence may not have their own real values.
The partnership marks a step forward in strengthening ties between Kenya and China, with a focus on empowering journalists to navigate the evolving media environment.
Now moving on, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, in collaboration with the French government, has launched a capacity development project for modern technologies in forest fire management at the Kenya Forest Services headquarters.
Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale lauded the initiative as a milestone in conservation and climate change mitigation.
Here's that report.
In his speech, Environment Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale lauded the bilateral partnership between the two nations, highlighting France's ongoing support for forest conservation and management initiatives through financial, technical and diplomatic efforts.
The partnership between France and Kenya has spanned decades. It has yielded impactful projects such as the Mikoko mangrove restoration, the Lake Victoria ecosystem management, the Kenya climate smart agriculture, commitment to forest protection, to climate action, and to sustainable development.
Such initiatives include mangrove restoration and protection and capacity building for community forest associations. Duale emphasized that these projects demonstrate both governments' commitment to forest protection, environmental conservation, and tackling climate change.
Supported by the French government, introduces cutting-edge technologies for fire detection, for fire surveillance and suppression, and it includes drones, advanced firefighting vehicles, PPEs, and training to equip the Kenya Forest Service teams for effective response.
His French counterpart, Thani Mohamed Soilihi, said the project aims to build institutional capacity to tackle the growing threat of forest fires, contributing to the broader goal of achieving and maintaining 30% tree cover for environmental stability.
The project will strengthen Kenya's resilience to climate change and benefit sectors such as agriculture, water management, and tourism.
The project, with a budget of 22 million euros, is being executed by Tylium SAS and Tylium EA in partnership with the Kenya Forest Service. For Prime Edition, I'm Christine Matunda.
Well, as we take a break earlier on, we saw the images of the Principal Secretary, State Department for Labor and Skills Development, Shadrach Mwadime, walking in. He is now in studio.
And Regina Manyara will be shifting to the shifts in a brief. But Regina, what should we expect?
You know, the big question tonight is the Kenyan labor market. As government is dealing with high unemployment rate, there is also a misnomer of sorts. Those who are already in formal employment are opting to get into enterprise, or rather entrepreneurship. Looking from a fiscal policy point of view, PAYE earns quite the sum for government. So as employment does not look so attractive as people are going to the informal sector, does the government have a plan? This and so much more is going to be what we're going to be sampling on the shift tonight as we look at the labor market. Earlier on, rightfully put, we had our guest in studio, that is Principal Secretary, Labor and Skills Development, Shadrach Mwadime, who was there, received by our very own Managing Director, Agnes Kaleche there, just showing that we're ready to just put matters into perspective when it comes to labor. As the national broadcaster, we also run a program where we have interns, you know, finding placement within the broadcasting house where they get to hone their skills, you know, in matters technical, electronic news gathering, as well as broadcast. So tonight we're going to be looking at the labor market, and we ask you, as we take this quick break, is that what are your views on the government's labor export strategy as a solution to unemployment? What is your view on government's labor export strategy as a solution to unemployment? You can get us on X at KBC Channel 1. My X handle is at Ray Manyara. For now, we take a quick break. When you're back, we shift.
Star 570 hash. Option 1 kuna PS5 na ni full package na inakuja na JBL Party Box. Hiyo boom experience pia iko.
Wewe bro, nipatie hiyo receipt ya items. Wazi wazi.
Cheki, mimi sina ado hizo nafaa.
Excuse, niletee receipt yangu ya items. Asante.
Ni pesa ngapi? 3,000.
Hebu nisaidie na ile receipt ya items.
Nimeshinda mili. I'm the latest millionaire. Marry me, baby.
Yes! Guys, nimeshinda laptop. Nimeshinda TV 50 inches.
G-Nice na Receipt Legit promotion kutoka KRA. Download Receipt Legit app, scan QR code kwenye receipt yako, ujishindie zawadi kem kila wiki. Kuna grand prize ya milioni 3 kwa washindi watatu, milioni kila mmoja.
Do you have a complaint, or is something just not adding up with your pension scheme? It's easy to file a complaint directly with the Retirement Benefits Authority, and it's absolutely free. Just visit www.complaints.rba.go.ke and follow the prompts to file your complaint. RBA will acknowledge your complaint within 7 working days. Your complaint will be reviewed and addressed within 30 working days. Your time and peace of mind are important, and anyone dissatisfied with the decision of RBA can appeal to the Independent Retirement Benefits Appeals Tribunal. RBA is here to listen and resolve your complaint promptly, because your retirement should be stress-free. For more information, visit our website www.rba.go.ke, call our toll-free line 0800-720-300, or email info@rba.go.ke. Secure your future. Secure your peace of mind. RBA, safeguarding your retirement benefits.
Bottom, alafu. Bottom. Bottom.
2 years at the helm of the country's leadership. How does the government's scorecard look like? What interventions has the government deployed to support the realization of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda? Bettering lives the better way. This Thursday at 9:30 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Tonight, we are shining the spotlight on the country's workforce, the opportunities and the hurdles in securing employment, both locally and abroad. The numbers show that every year, over 1 million young people enter the labor market, eager to find their niche. But the question remains, is the market able to absorb and utilize their skills, both in the formal and informal sector, as quickly as they're being churned out? To answer these questions on the state of the country's labor market, we're joined by none other than the Labor and Skills Development Principal Secretary, Shadrach Modime. Good evening, I'm Regina Manyara, and this is indeed The Shift. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you for having me.
So over the last few days, we have been seeing Kenyans, turn up for the government job recruitment exercise here in Nairobi, Machakos, and now also in parts of Rift Valley. What are the key highlights so far?
Okay, so the object is to ensure we bring information to the grassroots level, owing to the fact that a number of Kenyans have been complaining that they've been conned of their money by some recruitment agencies which unfortunately are not registered, and therefore we are going down mashinani to the grassroots level to interact with Kenyans at that particular level and to appraise them concerning the job opportunities that are available as it is now. Most of these job opportunities have been uploaded in the NIMS, that's the National Employment Authority Integrated Management System. However, it is critical for us as government to go and interact with Kenyans at that particular level, rather than assuming that they will be able to access this information and even apply for this job. So we are actually going down with the private recruitment agencies to interact with Kenyans at that level.
To create awareness.
Yes.
And are there any surprises, given there's been a lot of mistrust, to government projects, and as you've mentioned, Kenyans have been conned before? Any surprises so far?
Yeah, of course. There are those who are very skeptical about us, and they keep on asking whether this is true. They keep on asking the recruitment agencies whether it's true that government is, in actual sense, securing job opportunities for them abroad. So it's expected, owing to the fact that, they have been conned before.
And we want to know tonight if, what Kenyans think, actually, in real time. And the big question tonight, as we have it on your screen, is that what is your view on the government's labor export strategy as the question, or rather the solution to unemployment? What is your view on government's labor export strategy as a solution to unemployment? Get on X. Our X handle is at KBC Channel 1. Mine is at Ray Manyara. #The Shift. Now let us hear from what Kenyans from across the country had to say about the ongoing exercise.
With many Kenyans seeking jobs online, the first phase of the recruitment process has successfully ended in lower eastern counties of Machakos, Makueni and Kitui, with the government urging Kenyans to take up the opportunity. But what is the government doing to streamline the agencies? Join me as I engage with Kenyans.
In the short run, it will work. However, it's a temporary solution. In the long run, as an economist, I see that it will have some effects whereby we'll be exporting the most brilliant, the most energetic labor outside the country. And therefore, as a country, we will continue being a consuming nation than a producing nation.
Tuko sure ile nchi zenye tunaambiwa tutaenda kama our security itakuwa guaranteed. Sasa tuko nataka kujua kama tunaweza pata kazi za Kenya.
Wakaaji wa Baringo wengi, hata wanafunzi wa technical wako hapa ni wengi sana. wale walimalizia grade 8, class 8, wale walimalizia form 2, wale walimalizia form 4, wote wako hapa wakitafuta shughuli za skills. And Your Excellency, the last thing that I want to say, in as much as we are exporting labor to other countries, international labor, why can't we as a country also create industries, especially processing industries, so that we can utilize these markets, this labor that we have in this country? Especially here in Baringo, we have a lot of fruits. We can have industries. How many people will be employed?
There is this story about unapata kenye unafunzwa shule, yes, maybe ina make sense, but unapata resources hakuna, so hai make sense sana, like haiko useful. Then ikifika place ya kuingia kwa ground, nothing, like kenye kwa shule kenye kwa ground vitu mbili tofauti, hadi unakaa unashangaa fees ilichomwa ama mngenunua tu ng'ombe mkule sikukuu, I don't know.
While the government has made strides in skill development, there is still room for improvement. For example, organizing workshops that invite organizations to educate our youth, like capacity building, can bridge this skills gap. Additionally, incentivizing Kenyan companies to offer apprenticeship is vital.
Mimi kitu nilikuwa naona tu waje serikali saidia vijana. Juu tuko huko nyumbani tuko wengi sana vijana hatuna job. Story nasikia ati huko Arabuni na maisha huko hivyo kuna venye watu wanafanywa mbaya. Ningeomba bado serikali yetu bado iangalie hizo yenyewe, iangalie ijue venye itatusaidia pale pia pale juu kuna venye napata kuna haribika.
We have to address the issue of the strikes, and actually that's what also we are trying to address. You know, we have Kenya is a reactive country in a manner that they concentrate to the incident. What we have supposed to do is that we have to create a safety management system which address the underlying factors. If you address the underlying factors, let's say now like a workplace should have what we call a dispute resolution committee or a safety committee which deal with all internal issues. Once we have a good system of work where people are working, problem will be solved before they occur, and that's the best way to go.
That's just a sample of what Kenyans have to say about the ongoing exercise there, and is going to set the tone of this conversation. So, as government, you have set a target of linking 1 million youth to employers annually. So, so far, how many have been placed this year, and how realistic is this goal?
We've placed about 108,000 so far this year. The numbers are on the increase, there is no question about it, because we are signing bilateral labor agreements with the destination countries, particularly European countries. As you're well aware, we signed a bilateral labor agreement with Germany recently. We have an MOU with Austria, and therefore we are pushing for more bilateral labor agreements because we want labor migration. Although we are shy in calling it labor migration, we want to call it labor mobility. You know, we want labor mobility to take place in a very organized and structured way, because that is the only way we are going to ensure the rights of Kenyans working out there are guaranteed.
Now, Bonapias, you've mentioned the labor agreements that we have in Germany. Just recently, we saw the president down in Berlin, and this is where this was actually signed. But also, there were issues that were raised by Kenyans who are already in Berlin in regard to them not being able to have dual citizenship, so to speak, that they had to forfeit, property so that they can actually invest there. How are you tackling such issues when it comes to this, policy issue, when it comes to labor migration, as you've called it?
Yeah, those are the demands of the destination countries. You can only retain one citizenship. But our constitution allows for dual citizenship. Yes. So as we keep on negotiating with these destination countries, where the labor market is, obviously they will be able to possibly change their legal frameworks, their constitutions to allow for that. But our object is not for Kenyans to migrate to Europe or these other countries permanently. That is not our object. Our object is for them to go for short-term contracts, 3 years, possibly maximum 5 years. Then they come back home to invest. So we're also not interested so much in Kenyans acquiring citizenship, yes, in these countries, because we need them back home. I had one of the people who raised, issues concerning labor migration talk of brain drain, an economist who talked of brain drain.
Actually, that you picked that from a brain, because that's one of the things, because now we're unpacking what has been raised.
Absolutely.
Are you concerned about the possible brain drain? Because we're seeing some of the jobs that are gaining traction out there, is one of them is nursing. Yet we have nurses back home who are decrying, poor working conditions, poor pay and such. Brain drain. Are you worried about it?
No, I'm not worried about it at all. That's an issue that have engaged even the world of academia, academicians, and this is my thinking, and I'm absolutely right. Number one, there is no way you can tell a young person who is well skilled that one has to wait until the economy expands before you can be absorbed into formal employment. There is no way you can tell that person, to wait. These are people who want to establish their families, These are people who want to develop. These are people who want to make savings and also invest in the long run. They want to put up their houses, Generally, the expectations of any human being. So you can't tell them to wait until such a period of time that the economy expands.
Okay.
Number two, you must realize that the other side of the coin, when you're talking of brain drain, the flip side is actually brain gain, and that is what we are going for. We want them to go and get know-how that they will be able to transfer back home, to be able to exploit the resources that we have to the maximum and expand our economy.
Now, Bwana PS, that is good. It's in the long run. But then the question is the labor program just limited to casual and semi-skilled laborers or professionals?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because if we keep on sending semi-skilled labor abroad, we'll not be able to get the remittances that we need for our country, So in actual sense, we are sending skilled labor. But skilled labor to go and find technology as it obtains currently in those countries. And there are models that we can emulate. There are models of countries that have undertaken the same program and succeeded in converting the economies into first world economies. I have South Korea in mind. 30 years ago, South Korea sent the young people to Japan, engineers and what have you, to Saudi Arabia and Germany. They were able to acquire not only know-how, but experience that they brought back home with the savings that they were able to make, and whatever government was able to inject also into industrial expansion. And that is the reason why South Korea can now compete with Japan in terms of the products that Japan produces, be it electronic gadgets, the smartphones that we have, be it vehicles. Japan produces Toyotas. South Korea, as it is now, produces Hyundais that are of the same quality and standard as the Toyota models.
Looking at the latest report from the Ministry of Labour, it indicates that what is gaining traction out there is nursing, disc jockeys and such. And the question is, what about professional skills? Let me look at the engineers right now. Local engineers can still not practice abroad. Why? Because we have not ratified the Washington Accord. So what are you doing to ensure that even professionals, if doctors alike, as well as engineers, can also get these job opportunities?
Okay, so the strategy for that is recognition of certificates. We have to be very aggressive on that so that we can share the curriculum that we have for our engineers and any other profession. We can share with the countries of destination. We can even allow them to come and appraise us on how we can change curriculum to fit into their expectations, because that is very critical. So that that young person who graduates at the end of 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, will be sure that he or she will gain employment immediately after. And that is not with reference to the international labor market alone, even the local market. We have to ensure that our young people are as employable as possible.
Now, you've said that we have to be market ready if we're going to, get, foreign placement. So what specific skills are Kenyans, do Kenyans need to secure these jobs abroad? Because I'm also looking at the issue of the language barrier. Is the government also training these youth who are seeking those jobs abroad on, basic skills like communication, language and such? How are you handling that?
First of all, you have to appreciate that Kenyans have a very swift tongue. They are talented when it comes to foreign languages. Go to Coast Province. You'll find a number of young people who speak foreign languages just by interacting with tourists, even without going to language schools. But nevertheless, this is what we are doing as government. We have given instructions, particularly to our TVETs, to offer foreign languages as part of their curriculum, so that by the time you are graduating, you are ready for the German market. If you've learned German, you know, you are ready for the Italian market, you are ready for whichever market that is available out there. And as I said, it's not difficult for Kenyans to learn a foreign language. An average Kenyan speaks 3 languages: English, Swahili, and their mother tongue. So it's not difficult really to learn another language.
So if I were to apply, or rather get into this particular program, what will be required of me?
Yes, so language is critical. There's no question about it. But the skills that are demanded there is equally as critical. And we are conducting a survey. That is very, very important, so that we get to know the kind of jobs that are open in the international labor market, so that we train at the supply level. We train our young people to undertake courses. You know, we give them an opportunity to undertake courses that will guarantee them employment at the end of their course. Now, some of these courses that we have put our focus on is not only in the medical field, by the way, doctors and nurses, home care and what have you, but also IT, because Kenyans are very good when it comes to IT. You know, they are excellent. In fact, Germany has put an exemption as of now, you know, for those young people who are going to work in the IT industry. Language will not be a condition as of now, but gradually with time, of course, it will have
now,
to be
are you
reviewed.
concerned about such opportunities there, being accessible to those who do not have the right qualifications? Because we have seen this before. How are you ensuring that corruption does not infiltrate this particular process that you're currently under?
We are trying to be as transparent as possible in terms of the requirements that these young people need. Our private recruitment agencies have performed extremely well of late in picking those who have the right qualifications to go for these jobs, and they have been transparent. Most of the job orders are actually uploaded in the NIEMS, the National Employment Integrated Management System. So I would wish to also applaud our private recruitment agencies as to what they have done of late. And you have realized even the cases that we are getting, before concerning private recruitment agencies is a thing of the past.
So are you vetting these agencies? Are you confirming that they have been vetted before they actually, on board?
Yes. And they are not only vetted administratively by the National Employment Authority, they are actually vetted by a committee that is comprised of a senior administrator from my ministry, but all the security agencies are also represented, and we also have foreign affairs as part of the membership of this vetting committee.
So now, before we get to hear what Kenyans have to say, if they are on board with this particular, strategy, there have been, disturbing reports, Kenyans being abused abroad. And how can you assure families and the public that their loved ones will be safe and treated fairly in foreign countries?
It's extremely unfortunate what has been happening over the years, but we want this to be a thing of the past with the strategies that we are putting in place as it is currently. And this is what we are doing. Before this young Kenyan moves to work in these foreign countries, we conduct pre-departure training. We have to appraise them concerning the culture that they will meet there, the expectations also of their employers, so that they're well aware concerning that which will be desired of them before they even leave. That is number one. But secondly, we have labor attaches whose responsibility is basically to safeguard the interests of these Kenyans abroad. So these labor attaches that we are deploying abroad will know the location as to where this Kenyan is, and in case one gets into a wanting situation, first of all, we have a toll-free number that they can call. they can reach out to the National Employment Authority 24/7. But they can also reach out to our embassy and get immediate
now
assistance.
That you've mentioned our embassies, do you believe that the current regulations, are sufficient to protect Kenyans abroad from exploitation, human trafficking and other abuses?
Yes, I was on it. The other way is to ensure that they migrate abroad in a structured way, as I well put it, because some of them find themselves abroad using visitors' visas. Okay. And then they want to go and work there. It can't work, you see. Right. And therefore, the reason why we are pushing for bilateral labor agreements so that Kenyans move, with assurance that the kind of job they're going to undertake, the minimum wage in that country, first of all, is observed, and also, if they are professionals, they are able to earn as much as in accordance with their skills.
We will pick it up from there. So as we take a quick breather, I would want to see what you think about, would you be willing to work abroad under the government's labor export program? We've been running a poll and that is the result as it is. A majority are saying yes. So keep participating in this particular poll. We have 281 who have said yes. We have 128 of you who are watching back at home, maybe in the office, away from studio. Keep responding to this conversation as we tackle the labor market. Remember, we are not just focusing on the labor migration policy or other strategy, but also we are looking at the conditions of the Kenyan laborer. A quick breather on the shift. We'll be right back.
Mamlaka ya ukusanyaji ushuru nchini inakuletea kampeni ya umma ya G-Nice na Risiti Legit. Thibitisha risiti yako ukitumia app ya Risiti Legit, upate nafasi ya kuibuka mshindi wa zawadi kemkem kama vile shilingi milioni 1 pesa taslim, laptops, televisheni ya inchi 50, smartphones na zawadi zingine. Alhamisi tarehe 28, kutana nasi mjini Embu, Runyenjes, Siakago, Manyata, Kiritiri Market na Mbere. Kutana na msafara wetu wa Meru, maeneo ya Chuka, Nkubu na Meru Town tarehe 29 Ijumaa. Tarehe 30 siku ya Jumamosi tutaanzia Meru Town, Nchiru, Kianjai, Mutwate na Maua Town. Pata app ya Risiti Legit kwa Google Play Store au App Store kwa maelezo ya kuingia katika mashindano ya Risiti Legit. G-Nice na Risiti Legit. KRA, tulipe ushuru tujitegemee.
The Kenya Medical Training College, KMTC, is delighted to announce its 93rd graduation ceremony scheduled for Thursday, December 5th, 2024 at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, Nairobi from 8 a.m. Graduates are reminded to pay a non-refundable graduation fee of 4,000 shillings using the payment details provided on the screen. Graduation gowns can be collected at the college headquarters and the graduation booklet is available for download on the KMTC website. For more details on the graduation, training programs, intakes and application procedures, visit www.kmtc.ac.ke. KMTC, training for better health.
Say bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC Online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sports,
It's a class
music, entertainment news, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hands. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital App in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital App.
Je, ungependa kuwa mshindi na Lucky Box? Ni rahisi sana. Bonyeza *463# uwe mshindi.
Filo unanikatianga, mimi ninakataa ndio unakuja kuniwekelea hapo.
Nani?
Ndio uende pole pole. Wewe naona niambia naona kani hata wewe unauliza ama ni mama nauliza.
Mama ni nani?
Okay, bring it on. Mheshimiwa.
Ati?
When did you start to printing money and you are not at Elalu?
Kila mtu anaweza kuwa mshindi. Bonyeza *463#. Uwe mshindi. Kuchagua box ni kuchagua chapa.
Kumbuka, kila unapocheza Lucky Box unasaidia watoto kusoma.
You are watching The Shift with Regina Manyara.
Welcome back. You are watching The Shift. Now let's look at what the statistics have to say about Kenya's labor market. Well, what you're expecting to see is actually a graphical representation of basically these are the top fastest declining jobs, as you have bank teller, postal services, cashier, ticket servicing, data entry staff, administration and executive secretaries. These are among top 10 fastest declining jobs in the country so far. This is a report by KIPRA, supported by the latest economic survey by KNBS. Material recording, accounting and bookkeeping, payroll clerk, legislators and officials, statistical, financial and insurance clerks, door-to-door sales workers, news and street vendors. Top 10 fastest declining jobs. Now, what is actually pushing the job market, or rather, where is the demand? We have AI and machine learning specialists, sustainability specialists, business intelligence analysts, information security analysts, fintech engineers. These are just among, we compare and contrast what is working, what is not working, especially in the local labor market. The next slide there is data analysts and scientists, robotics engineers, electrotechnology engineers, agricultural equipment operators, and digital transformation specialists. So compare and contrast the fastest declining and the fastest growing demand. And this brings me to the question, Bwana PS. A recent survey, that is the current unemployment rate between 1997 and 2023. Well, we see it going on an upward trajectory to around 6.7, 5.8%, looking at 2023 there. And this brings me to my next question. That particular survey by the Kenya Bureau of Statistics shows that there is a mismatch, between skills graduates possess and what the market actually requires. Do you acknowledge this gap? And if you do, then how are you addressing it? We have the statistics there to support.
I acknowledge it.
Okay.
In fact, that is the reason why the unemployment rate is extremely high.
Yeah.
And we've also interacted with entrepreneurs. They are telling us the kind of graduates we produce do not meet their expectations. So this is very true, and that's the reason why we're carrying out a skills and inventory, for the entire country, so that we get to know the skills that obtain currently, and then we look at the demands of the market, not only local market, but also the international one, and we see where there are gaps, so that we can inform curriculum, we can change curriculum. But other than that, we're also establishing sector skills committees. We have about 12 of them so far. Agriculture, industry, IT, you name it. Across the board, be it even in the maritime world. And what we are trying to do is this. We have experts in these sectors who sit in these skills committees, so that they can appraise us concerning what their sectors require. And then out of the information we get from them, we can sit with Ministry of Education, so that right from primary school, we can guide our young people on the careers that they can pursue, and eventually after graduation, they get employed. So the whole idea is to ensure employability of our young people. What has been happening is immoral. We train our young people for a pretty long period of time. They graduate and we tell them the jobs for the skills they have acquired are not available.
Then the question is, why not create then job
job opportunities locally, because with the projects that we're having, especially in infrastructure, we're seeing an inflow of expatriates who are coming to work and perform duties, you know, that our local people can. So the misnomer there, why aren't we addressing that?
Yes, we are. By the way, it's not easy for one to get a work permit in Kenya. If the skills that this expatriate is bringing on board are available within the country, we will not allow, you know, that particular person to get a work permit.
But then do we have the capacity to do
Yes.
the monitoring and evaluation, especially in the building and construction sites, as well as major road infrastructural projects? We're seeing expatriates working on
We
that?
do. We have the Labor Market Information Unit in my state department that scans the market to see the kind of skills that are required both locally and, as I said, also internationally, and then pass over this information to Kenyans. So we are doing it in actual sense. Possibly we've not been shouting from the rooftop concerning it, and that's where we've gone wrong. But we are doing it as it is now.
Should you find an investor who is not honoring the 40% local, you know, content in as far as his labor workforce or her labor workforce is concerned, what steps have you encountered?
The law, yes, we have, and the law is very explicit and clear concerning the same. You know, there are punitive measures that can be put in place in accordance with the legal framework that we have. So with the labor officers who go round, you know, to analyze and supervise and ensure that we get the best out of our policies, out of our legal framework, yes, there are some who are eventually arraigned in court.
All right,
you know,
so we have had the indictments.
Yes.
Would you have a number, maybe, so
no,
far?
I don't have it as it is currently, but yes, that is being done.
Okay, so the 40% local content, especially in these projects, has always been deemed as semi-skilled. Do we have, you know, a way to mechanism to ensure that also our local professionals are onboarded in these particular investment projects? I mean,
yes, we do. Let me give you an appropriate example. The low-cost housing project the government is pursuing as it is currently. We're giving opportunities to our professionals, you know, to apply their skills, be it quantity surveyors, be it electrical engineers, you know, be it masons, those who have done masonry, you know, those who have done carpentry, you know, those who have done welding. It's across the board. We're allowing our professionals to be engaged fully. That is the reason why the government has come up with these projects, you know, other than ensuring that Kenyans also have decent housing, which is in accordance with our constitution. We're also offering employment to our professionals.
Now, the young people, or rather the youth, a majority of them are tech savvy, and they have opted to conduct business on the digital space. That is a good move. However, on the other hand, the government has instituted something like the digital service tax, eating into their would-be, you know, earnings. What is your department doing? You know, is there a reprieve? Can we have a, what are you doing to ensure that, you know, they thrive? We're already dealing with unemployment, yet you're taxing on the digital space.
There can be tax holidays for those who establish BPOs. You know, some of these things are negotiated. You know, government is not something that is inhuman. You know, you just imagine that you cannot be able to negotiate with government. You can negotiate with government. You know, so long as you are seen to be undertaking a project or a business, you know, that in the long run is going to be beneficial to the economy, it will create employment, and later on you'll be making maximum profit so that we can tax you also and gain as much revenue from your project as we can, you know.
So how do they?
You can negotiate with government.
How do I negotiate with government?
You can with the Kenya Revenue Authority, but other than that, for small and middle, not very large startups, you know, even through the Department of SMEs, you can as well raise such issues. But other than that, whenever we have a finance bill, and I think that is where we got into trouble also with the Gen Zs, you can raise your voice and say this particular tax is not going to be favorable to you. yeah, especially for those who are at the lowest level, establishing enterprises. You can raise your voice and you can be heard. In fact, the whole idea of having stakeholder forums is so that you can raise those issues so that government can be able to address them. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is government is there for the people. You can interact with government. You can raise these issues, and in the long run, they will be addressed.
In the long run?
Both in the long run, or in the long run, what I mean is eventually when the finance bill becomes an act.
All right.
You know?
Now, the government has a very ambitious plan of raising 1 trillion shillings in diaspora remittance by 2027. So far, how much has been received in diaspora remittance, and how do you intend to actually?
You will be surprised. Last year, in accordance with the statistics that we have from the Central Bank of Kenya, the amount of money that Kenyans remitted back to their country, and this tells you that Kenyans are very patriotic, was $4.3 billion US, which converts to about 663 billion Kenya shillings. If you push it to 1 trillion shillings, that will be a quarter of our national budget, assuming that our national budget is about 4 trillion shillings. That is a lot of money that is being injected into the economy. And mind you, Regina, again, in accordance with the survey that has been carried out, this is only 5% of what Kenyans save out there. So if we create a conducive environment for them and push it to 10%, that will already be $10 billion US that will be plowed into the economy. Forget about foreign direct investment, much as we need it. But foreign direct investment now will come from Kenyans working in the diaspora who are plowing in resources to ensure economy expands. And that is the way to go, as it is. So what we need to guarantee them, Regina, is possibly a good investment package. And we're in discussion with the Kenya Investment Authority to ensure the same, so that their return on investment is as high as it can be.
I like the return on investment direction that you're taking, because right now diaspora remittances are used for consumption. They're sending back home, they want to build their homes and such. So how are we working at redirecting these particular monies, to support long-term development?
Now,
instead of creating this cycle of dependency, for growth.
Absolutely. So you see, that is the reason why I told you our strategy is for Kenyans to go to these international labor markets for a short period of time. Because what is critical is know-how. So that as you come back home with the investments, you're going to establish an enterprise, possibly an industry, that will not only offer employment to other Kenyans within, but in the long run expand our economy. And let me tell you, this is how beautiful it is. The market that is available within our country is large. Why am I saying so? Because a big percentage of our population is comprised of young people. So it will remain young for a pretty long period of time to come, even in the next 100 years to come. That's the reason why most of these Western European countries and even the Asian countries are putting their focus on Africa. It's because of our population. Because simple mathematics, for any economist or any businessman, at the end of that cycle is the market. Production, but at the end is the market. If you produce and you don't have a market, it's futile for you. So imagine this Kenyan who is coming back with the trillions of money that he's been able to make out there, or maybe many Kenyans, possibly one Kenyan, it may not be.
One Kenyan.
It may not be possible.
Yes,
I agree with you.
Yes.
But as they all plow in these resources, and some of them are establishing cooperatives, by the way, they are coming together abroad and making savings. So even the trillion that I'm talking about is possible, for them to just bring it as one group that is coming to invest in a particular area. And they're investing in their fellow Kenyan in the diaspora who has the know-how in terms of producing a particular good.
The taxation policy, when it comes to monies that are sent from abroad, that's another challenge. How are we going to go about it? Because there's a field that I am earning and I'm sending and still getting taxed.
It's both sides, by the way. It's not only in Kenya, but also abroad, because we have sat with Kenyans in the diaspora and they've told us the kind of challenges that they are facing in sending money back home.
Yes.
From the financial institutions where they are working in the countries where they're working. And indeed, that was one of the issues that I tackled recently in the European Migration Network. They normally have an annual meeting. By God's grace, they invited me as one of the guests and panelists, you know, and therefore I was able to speak about this issue in a very comprehensive and, you know, confident way that there is need for them to relook at it, you see, because they are also in need of labor owing to the fact that they have an aging population.
Okay.
So on that side, it's wanting and therefore it has to be addressed. But in Kenya, I totally agree with you, we may need to relook at our tax policy. But what I'm trying to tell you, Regina, is our tax policy is not cast on stone. It's a question of people sitting and negotiating and discussing. It's not cast on stone at all. We cannot make the mistake that we made, you know, that led to the Gen Z demonstrations.
I hope we don't.
Well, no, we will not. I can assure you with full confidence.
I hope we don't.
We had a stakeholder forum for my sector, the social sector, on Friday last week, and we had a number of Kenyans come to KICC, you know, to listen to our projections going forward, the programs that we have in place. They gave us some very important and critical information that was missing out, that we're going to incorporate now going forward to ensure we succeed in our projects.
The stakeholder engagements. Now, just last week, we saw that academic staff in public universities actually went back last weekend. And, you know, after 1 month, nearly 1 month of industrial action. Before that, we had doctors. Before that, we had clinical officers out on the streets. Why are public workers, you know, dissatisfied?
They are dissatisfied because of their pay package, and they have been raising this repeatedly. But most importantly, it's because we are negotiating their collective bargaining agreements towards the end, the tail end of these cycles, which is wrong. Ideally, we should negotiate the CBAs right from the word go. I have given an undertaking, and I have told university lecturers that next year, for the 2025-2029 cycle, we will begin negotiating on it in January, so that we can first of all look at our economy, the way it is performing, where it is wanting, where we are able to increase their allowances or not, you know, whether it is possible to increase their salaries or not. We negotiate early enough because they are Kenyans. They live here. They know the kind of challenges that we face. But let me tell you, Regina, what we have done, because what is obtaining in our country currently used to obtain in South Africa, if you remember, about 25 years ago. But they came up with a structure.
I was here calculating if I was born then, but yeah, I was alive.
You're alive, thank God. They came up with a structure that has brought about industrial peace. And that is what we have emulated. Okay. The National Labour Board and the wages councils for the various sectors.
But now these collective bargaining agreements, you know, they are made under different dispensations. These entities sit down, have a CBA, we change in regime. Government changes, then seemingly abandons the CBA. It starts over again. Is it time that we actually address this to completion?
And that is the reason why I'm telling you, the only solution is to put in place structures that can be able to address such, you know, cycles that take place from one administration to another. Because, you see, if you are to rely upon the political establishment, they would want to be popular with the people. So before elections, you know, there will be a CBA that has been negotiated that cannot be implemented, you know, by the next administration that takes over the reins of power. And therefore, the solution is the structures that I'm talking about. Have wages councils. Wages councils for sectors, each sectors, you know, each sector. If it be the security sector, you have experts in that particular area that negotiate the salaries for watchmen and other security officers. Be it agriculture, you know, for multinational corporations. Be it the public service, you know. They can be negotiated by a council.
But then wouldn't that, Bwana PS, sorry for interjecting there, but wouldn't that be also taking away the mandate of the SRC?
Not necessarily. We're working with the SRC because the SRC only gives us the ceiling. SRC works with Ministry of Finance, the National Treasury, to give the ceiling as it's supposed to be. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty, the negotiations, they can take place at the Wages Council's level. And as I was telling you, Regina, it has worked in South Africa. The kind of unrest that we had there about 25, 30 years ago does not obtain currently.
But at what cost? Isn't this now going to also hurt the taxpayer in expanding the wage bill that is already running away, so to speak?
No. So the Wages Councils look at what obtains in the economy. If the economy cannot sustain a pay rise, they will not advise so. And you see, they're established in accordance with the law. So we're not twisting the political establishment as it is now. The structures are being followed to the letter in accordance with the legal framework that is in place.
Wage councils structures to actually manage the wages of various sectors. Is this the way to go? We'll be answering further this issue as we come back. Remember, you're watching The Shift.
Christmas ni sahi ishafika na ni kubwa. Kweli? Hii Kristi ni bomba na Blue Santa kupitia star 570 hash option 1. Rudia. Star 570 hash option 1. Iko PlayStation 5 na 55 TV na iko 500,000 Kenyan shillings.
Nambuzi moja?
Nambuzi. 1 million Kenyan shillings na Samsung S24 Ultra.
Nambuzi moja?
Iko 2 million Kenyan shillings na iPhone 16 Pro Max.
Nambuzi mbili.
Blue Santa amekuja na zawadi kibao. Nani kubwa. Hapa kuna ndogo. Hapa Christmas ni bomba.
Kinyanjui Kalia, mbona unakimbia? Kwani umeona Costa?
Hiyo Costa nini ndio mtaiona eh? I hope you are ready for the exams.
Mi niko Lendi, tell him to bring it on.
Teacher, Mr. McFridge, I am on my bended knees and I am very sorry. I acknowledge that you are the teacher and I am the student. I am sorry.
Viva!
Kinyanjui, you have a lot of explaining to do. Can you come back here?
Mr. Teacher, I am learning somewhere very, very important. I will see you later.
Tonight is none other than Principal Secretary, Labour and Skills Development, PS Shadrach Modime. The conversation is about the labour market. The statistics are there. We're still grappling with unemployment, and government has set forth some interventions, one of which being the labour migration strategy. Is it working? So let's have a listen into what Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua of Labour and Social Protection had to say about this particular strategy.
Country right now, we have more people who are trained and qualified than the available jobs. We don't have a shortage of skills in Kenya. We have more doctors than we can absorb. That means people going overseas does not affect our economic growth at all. Actually, it will help because they'll come back with brain gain. They'll come back with new knowledge of how things are done and get Kenya to be a first world country. So don't fear. There are so many teachers that are unemployed. Mwalimu akae nyumbani hapa, angoje Kenya ifikie hiyo economy in 5 years, ama ende ngambo, afanye kazi, akuje hapa nyumbani, ikiwa Kenya imefikia hapo, si ndio? Because we have enough labor as it is. We churn out more people in this continent than any other, in this country than any other person in this continent. So we're doing very well.
Having heard what the Cabinet Secretary has said, would you as a Kenyan be willing to onboard into this particular program? We are sampling your feedback. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1. Related to that, PS, there's a question, the question that has been raised by one of our viewers on our social media platforms. They're asking, I qualify, they have the requisite qualifications in terms of academics, even the language. But then who is footing the travel cost abroad?
Okay,
is the government subsidizing?
It's dependent on the market. It's purely dependent on the market. There are some markets that are purely free in the sense that it's the employer who foots the cost in terms of transport, in terms of medical. Some of them even pay for passports. You know, the entire cost is catered for. But there are some other markets that insist you have to take yourself there. You have to present yourself to the employer.
Okay.
And therefore there's a cost.
So it's varying. So off cuff, or rather top of mind, what are these markets that are willing, you know, to have a pro quo, or rather facilitate these candidates seeking jobs there?
Yeah, like for example, Israel insists that you have to take yourself there. Most of these former Eastern European countries also do the same, yeah, be it Poland, Serbia, and the like. Even Russia, we are pursuing negotiations with them. But even for that country, it's the same. But the others, like in Germany, there are some employers who will actually foot the entire bill. I'm saying there are some employers because it's dependent again, you know. But I want to assure Kenyans that these are very high-paying jobs. So even if you're incurring some costs, you know, you can rest assured that you'll recover the same within a month or two. And we have tried to negotiate with the Youth Enterprise Fund to see whether they can come up with a product, you know, for labor migrants. They have accepted, they have set aside a lot of money concerning the same. I think in accordance with the information I received recently, I think about 300 million or so. We're also in discussions with financial institutions, but they have to charge a very low interest. That's the reason why we are negotiating with them. So our object as government is to ensure that it is free. And therefore we'll pursue those markets that we know Kenyans will not incur any cost. That's the reason why we have the global labor strategy. You know, the global labor strategy is about identifying markets that are beneficial to Kenyans.
Now, there was talk. Actually, there's also a response to that CBA. Maybe I can read it there. This comes from one of our viewers, Silas Otieno, who says, actually, he goes further to quote the president and says, presidents should stop over-promising unions. There is on the screen. Retired presidents set CBAs just after their retirement and hence bringing the burden to new presidents. Maybe that's what you're saying, that we need to have structures when it comes to CBAs.
Absolutely.
Now, some months back, there was talk of abolishing permanent and pensionable jobs in the public service and move to a more contractual basis. Is this still on the table?
No, it's not government policy. I can assure you. That was somebody's, you know, view.
Okay, thank you for
therefore,
that.
there are ideas that are being shared left, right, and center to see how we can reduce the wage bill.
Now, it seems that a majority of those who are in government, you know, are disgruntled. And are dissatisfied, maybe because of the statutory deductions and such. What are you doing to actually make public service attractive? Because the payslip is not paying for the sleep, so to speak.
No, I can assure you, Regina, and I'm saying this with a lot of honesty because I've also been in government for a while. You know, the kind of pay packet that we have currently in comparison to what you used to obtain before is much, much better. I know the economic situation is equally not so good, and therefore Kenyans are feeling it as it is. But government has really tried in terms of the allowances that public servants need to get, be it doctors, the special allowances and what have you. We've gone out of our way to guarantee, you know, Kenyan public servants that which they require in order to perform well. It may not be the best, but what I'm trying to say is there has been an attempt to make it better.
Now, there's been a proposed minimum wage of around 30,000 shillings for security guards. Where are we with that particular proposal?
That was a proposal that came up by the private security authority, regulatory authority that has been established. But there were no consultations. The stakeholder forums were not, you know, held, and that is in accordance with the Constitution. And that's the reason why the matter went to court.
Yeah. Is government providing a safety net, you know, for those who, for one reason or another, get actually axed, or rather as companies are downsizing? Because we've seen a majority that actually want to downsize, you know, looking at the high cost of doing business. Is there a safety net?
Yes, in the sense that we have the Youth Enterprise Fund, we have the Women Development Fund, and there are quite a number of financial institutions also that are giving out loans. We also have the Hustler Fund, you know, working with the World Bank in terms of the resources that they are giving us. What we need to do is to build the capacity of these Kenyans in terms of running enterprises.
Now, you're pushing Kenyans, or rather, to embrace entrepreneurship. But then government has increased the pay as you earn. But the formal, those who are in formal employment is shrinking. How will it then be able to marry the, the gaps that are likely to occur?
Yeah, but we haven't said we're offloading Kenyans, by the way. We haven't said we're offloading those who are in the public service. These are proposals, as I said.
Yeah.
We had the structural adjustment programs in the 80s, and a number of Kenyans were offloaded. An analysis was carried out later on, and it was found to have been wanting, because the spending power that Kenyans had at that particular time shrinked. And therefore, if you don't have people spending, how are they going to buy goods and services? What are you producing those goods and services for? And therefore, we have to be careful concerning the same. But what I'm making reference to is the informal sector,
yes,
that has about 19 million Kenyans. How can we build their capacity? How can we ensure that they are financially literate, to know how to balance their books, to run their books of accounts, and therefore to grow their businesses?
How also are you working at also formalizing them so that you can tap?
Yes, that's the other issue. We're trying to come up with a strategy, a policy actually, on how we can encourage this informal sector to migrate to formal sector.
Now, as we come to a close, we are looking at the upcoming celebrations in December, and I know they are geared around just looking at what the labor market amid the high rate of unemployment. Is there hope that maybe we will have the minimum wage increased from the current, is it 15,000 or 17,000?
The minimum wage was increased by 6% during the last celebrations that we had.
Yeah.
So the minimum wage currently, particularly in Nairobi and the other cities that obtain, is about 16,700. For casual work, it's about 770,000 per day.
Is there hope to have this increased in the next celebrations?
Yes, as the economy improves, as the economy performs well. Indeed, that is the reason why our focus in this year's celebration is on job creation, labor migration, and what have you. We are putting our focus into ensuring that as many Kenyans as possible find themselves, employed, both in the informal and formal sector. Yeah.
One word as we actually bring the shift to a close. Are we ready to embrace remote working?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Indeed, we are trying to come up with a BPO policy, in order to ensure as many Kenyans as possible benefit from AI. You are working in Nairobi with your computer, with your laptop, but you can as well be able to earn a living. And AI, in the sense that there are some jobs that will obviously be offloaded, what Kenyans are doing because of introduction of AI, but AI can also be used to our advantage, because if you're maximizing on profits, you can as well come up with different products, So the packaging, the transportation, and what have you, you can still be able to gain out of AI, because that's the way the world is moving as
Indeed.
It is currently.
On that note, that brings a cup to matters shift tonight. We've been speaking to none other than Principal Secretary, Labour and Skills Development, Shadrach Modime there. And a call to action is that you on board on the labor export strategy there. And in the long run is meant to cure unemployment. And maybe by 2027, we'll have diaspora remittance actually hit the 1 trillion shillings mark. I hand over to my colleagues on the other side of the studio. That is Chuma, Odim and Tomboya to take you through the rest of the programming.
Je, ungependa kuwa mshindi na Lucky Box? Ni rahisi sana.
Bonyeza *463# uwe mshindi.
Mina kapewa kikombe cha maji ya kunywa, maji kwa weupe yameshinda hata maziwa.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anawapenda wenye kutubia madhambi yao na wenye kujitwahirisha.
Allah anapenda wale wenye kujisafisha.
Kila mtu anaweza kuwa mshindi. Bonyeza *463# uwe mshindi. Kuchagua box ni kuchagua chapa.
Kumbuka, kila unapocheza Lucky Box unasaidia watoto kusoma.
Welcome back. Now, from the shift to the corridors of justice, Tom.
Over 2,000 residents of Manda Island, that's in Lamu County, have applied to the Milimani Law Courts to join a land dispute over the 1,000 acres of Lamu Manda.
The residents, through their lawyer, Dunstan Omari, claim rightful ownership and are seeking to overturn orders protecting businessman Alex Githinji.
Now, the residents accused Goodson 9 Limited and Goodson 53 Limited of colluding to unlawfully take over their land.
Githinji, however, insists he lawfully purchased the land from one Abdullahi Farah Haji following an official search.
Now, the court is set to determine whether to enjoin the residents and review the orders issued in favor of Githinji.
Law Society of Kenya itasimamia wakili ambaye itasimamia Wakenya ambao wanadhulumiwa na kunyang'anywa haki zao. Kipengele cha 4 cha Law Society of Kenya ni kulinda maslahi ya public interest. Hawa ndio the public. Kwa hivyo tunataka judge aweze kutupilia ile kesi irudi Malindi, pali ambapo High Court imo, pali ambapo huyu mama atatoka baada ya kufua samaki yake kupata shilingi 10, aingie kwenye bodaboda, aende kotini, aweze kusikizwa, aweze kupata haki.
Tungeomba rais wetu atuangalie na sisi ni wanyonge, na tumekuja kumnyima mahakama kujitetea kama wanyonge. Hatotoka mzungu nchi ya nje awe ni Mkenya. Sisi wa Kenya ambao tutakuwa si wa nini, hatuna haki. Kitu kama hicho kimetuuma, tumenyanyasika, tumedhulumiwa. Wengine ambao tunaona sisi tuko hapa tunaongea, kuna wengine mashinani wanalia, wengine wanasema tunaachia Mungu, wengine yani kila mtu analia na kilio.
From the scales of justice to a look at what's happening around the counties, Kericho County government has received a consignment worth Kenya shillings 56 million from the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, which will help address the shortage of drugs in the hospitals in the county.
Elsewhere, civil societies want stringent measures put in place to curb gender-based violence.
These and other stories are in our county roundup.
Kericho Governor Eric Mutai says as the drugs are distributed, the county is working to ensure there is no shortage in the county hospitals.
So putting in mechanism and level on Diani to ensure that as we supply these drugs, our pharmacies are on top of things. That towards the end, or if we realize that we need to replete the stock, they would be able to replete the stock on time so that we don't end up with the difficulty of having to wait until the next batch comes. So this time around, we're going to be proactive so that our citizens and our people are able to get medicine on time.
And the Board of Directors of the Music Copyright Society of Kenya has denied suspending MCSK CEO Dr. Ezekiel Mutua.
There are so many things ile secretariat inaangalianga ndio uweze kuqualify. So 3 members ama 4 members did not qualify, and one took us to the court na akaweza kuobtain court orders za kusimamisha elections. Tukapambana kotini, koti ikatupa hiyo kesi maana alikuwa ameondolewa kwa njia inayofaa.
Elsewhere, civil societies are calling on the government to put more stringent measures on perpetrators of gender-based violence to win the fight against the vice.
As we mark the beginning of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, so 90% of the perpetrators of gender-based violence are men. And it is important for us as men to speak up firmly in support of women and to tell our fellow men who engage in gender-based violence that enough is enough.
In Kajiado County, child rights advocates are urging children departments to wage war on early pregnancy.
Mimba za mapema ni imekuwa jambo ambalo lazima tuweze tukazingatia na jambo ambalo linafaa kutiliwa maanani wakati tuna deal na wasichana na watoto wetu.
Have just seen a decrease from 27% and right now we are at 18.3% of teenage pregnancies, which tells you in the 5-year span we've just achieved very little, and one teenage pregnancy is one too many.
And the State Department for Technical, Vocational and Educational Training says it is engaging Treasury to facilitate the employment and training of more tutors.
And we started with 1,300. We have done another 2,000, and we are in the process of requesting Treasury to give us more budget to bring in more trainers.
Finally, social organizations in Tana River County have urged parents and their youth to stand up against gender-based violence.
Wasichana wetu wengi bado wanapata mimba. Nafikiri hicho kiwango kiko juu hata ukilinganisha na kile kiwango cha nchi nzima. Kwa hivyo inamaanisha kwamba sisi huku kwetu bado viwango vya dhulma viko juu. Ukiangalia kwa mfano dhulma za ile kama ile ya ukeketaji ama ile FGM pia iko kwa kiwango cha juu.
Martini Maslin for Prime Edition.
All right, let's cross over now to the Health Watch. The East African region will, in January 2025, convene a health summit to explore ways of enhancing the region's response to health emergencies.
Experts are saying pandemics such as COVID-19, you remember it, Ebola, and also Mpox call for the readjustment of protocols. Why? To contain the spread of the disease.
Among the areas that the summit will focus on is enhancing healthcare infrastructure and emergency preparedness within the East African region.
Here now is that report with
Doreen Arange.
Inaugural East Africa Region Global Health Security Summit, which will provide a roadmap to how the region shall deal with emerging health security challenges going forward.
Let us have our appropriate infrastructure in place, appropriate health systems in place, and personnel in place to enable us protect the region, protect East Africa, and protect the continent.
Speaking at a stakeholders engagement forum that brought together several agencies within the health sector, Hilary Limo, manager Public Health Emergency Operations Center at the Ministry of Health, said the summit will provide a platform to share common goals, preparedness, and build resilience in health emergencies.
We are engaging here today present a unique opportunity to set the stage for what I believe will be a transformative chapter in the East Africa's approach to health security.
Building on lessons from past pandemics like COVID-19, Ebola, and the recent health concern of Mpox, the summit aims to boost Africa's capacity to manage unforeseen pandemics.
There's lessons learned, there's conversations going on, there's a lot of policies going on. In Kenya today, the biggest conversation going on is healthcare.
Dr. Timothy Onwen, chairperson of the board of the National Cancer Institute, underscored the significant role played by community health promoters in strengthening health systems.
The first point of contact of communities with the healthcare system to be empowered in such a way that, first of all, they are able to be able to detect not just patients who are unwell with various conditions, but also prepare them.
The summit will take place between 28th to 30th January 2025 in Kilifi County and will bring on board 14 East African countries. Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
Je, unapenda kuwa mshindi na Lucky Box? Ni rahisi sana.
Bonyeza *463# uwe mshindi.
Fikiri unanikatianga, mimi ninakataa ndio unakuja kuniwekelea hapo.
Nani?
Ndio uende pole pole. Wewe naona niambia naona kani hata wewe unauliza ama ni mama anauliza.
Mama ni nani?
Okay, bring it on. Mheshimiwa.
Ati?
When did you start to printing money
and you are not a Telaru. Kila mtu anaweza kuwa mshindi. Bonyeza *463#. Uwe mshindi. Kuchagua box ni kuchagua chapa.
Kumbuka, kila unapocheza Lucky Box unasaidia watoto kusoma.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're watching Prime Edition. My name is Wairimu Jenga. The government is banking on the upcoming livestock vaccination to double revenue from the livestock subsector. Livestock Policy Research Director Christopher Wanga says the vaccination exercise is part of the livestock master plan that is earmarked to open up additional niche markets for Kenyan livestock products.
Kenya earned 191 billion shillings last year from the livestock subsector, representing a 24% growth from 2022. Earnings from cattle, goats and sheep accounted for a third of the earning, generating 154 billion shillings. To further increase earnings in the livestock subsector, the government says it will embark on a vaccination exercise that will target 77 million livestock as part of its livestock master plan. The vaccination exercise targets to contain the spread of foot and mouth and the pest petites, ruminants' highly contagious diseases.
We rely heavily on the veterinary services to transform the livestock sector. We have targets to achieve doubling our milk production, increasing revenue from leather and leather products.
The exercise targets to vaccinate 55 million goats and 22 million cattle within 1 year.
We are on the tail end of generating livestock information through the development of a livestock master plan that will inform targeted investments in the sector.
To facilitate frequent vaccination in the country and increase livestock production, World Organization for Animal Health is calling for capacity building among veterinary professionals to help address extension services challenges among small-scale herders.
We're fully conscious that no matter if you have good vaccines, good equipment and so on, nothing is possible without a strong workforce in the field.
Achieving the animal health strategy for Africa means ensuring that the capacities for veterinary workforce are in place, policies and regulations to ensure the prevention and control of animal health, and ensuring also all the animal welfare standards are implemented as per WHA standards in all the African Union member states.
Kenya is banking on increased animal health to acquire new international markets.
Now to the cybersecurity space, the experts are calling for more public-private partnership funding to combat cybercrime. CyberPro Global Chairperson Preston Odera says there is need for a critical resilience mass to secure the country's digital economy.
The National Kenya Computer Incident Response Team detected 1.1 billion cyber attack threats from May to June this year. This was a 16.5% increase from the previous quarter. The increased cyber attacks incidences are being attributed to a lack of awareness in cybersecurity matters.
Be close to the industry players so that they give you more of the information, and also they give the help, because some of the companies have the funding. The government might not have all the resources required. Some might sponsor some of these courses so that we bridge that gap.
Players say a multifaceted approach, including roping in academia and governments, are among ways to raise and increase cyber skills set among the population to reduce cyber attacks incidences. However, insiders in the sector say digital skilling goes beyond just cyber security.
The prediction is that we are soon going to have AI as a key player into the industry in most of products or services that are being rendered within the institutions or even within the country or even the continent.
Our specific relationship has grown because it is critical for government officials to also know not only in terms of mind knowledge, but to practically be able to secure government records, government information from a cybersecurity perspective.
This emerged during the presentation of CyberPro Global's ISO certification in cybersecurity and artificial intelligence at a time when the country is looking to build capacity of institutions that are versed in cybersecurity and AI global standards.
We look at the private sector as also being very innovative in terms of identifying and addressing various needs for the economy. And we've seen a lot of companies, both local and foreign, being very vibrant in coming up with very innovative solutions that are addressing our Kenyan problems.
Now, on the ongoing Kenya Innovation Week, the government is seeking more public-private partnership to fund research and innovation. Information, Communication and Technology Principal Secretary John Tanui says there is need to increase research and innovation to encourage development of more local startups that will provide tailor-made solutions for the country.
Says it is planning to increase public-private partnerships to drive policy and funding of research and innovation. Information, Communication and Technology Principal Secretary John Tanui says the partnerships will work to ensure synergy, eliminate duplication, reduce resource wastage, and provide a strong platform for dynamic innovation and research within Kenya's ecosystem.
We are working with all our colleagues, with my peers from peers from youth, to see that we deepen collaboration in government and enable our youth who have ideas to take it to the next level.
Plans are also underway to incorporate innovation in the country's education system to equip learners with skill sets needed in the job market.
The Entrepreneurial Leaders Training Program is indeed a transformative initiative, and thanks Tony Omwansa and Kenya for initiating this, as it's indeed designed to empower the next generation of innovators and business leaders.
The government is confident that once passed into law, the startup bill will open up local innovations for more capital funding.
We're looking forward for the startup bill to be passed as law. It's one of the legislative tools that we believe can unlock huge potential.
Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
The ride-hailing app Uber made of 14.1 billion shillings contribution to the Kenyan economy in 2023. In its Kenyan Economic Impact Report, the company says its app created an estimated 2.7 billion shillings in additional value for the tourism industry, supporting millions of tourist journeys.
The company, which was launched globally in 2010, and made its entry to Kenya in 2015 with their focus on delivery and mobility, made contribution in various sectors in the country, among them drivers who earned an additional 2.2 billion a year in higher income through their use of the Uber app. On local businesses, the company supported 167 million shillings in additional value for the nighttime economy in Kenya by allowing Kenyans to reach local bars, clubs and restaurants at night. Uber Eats, on the other hand, created 534 million shillings in additional value for the restaurants in Kenya by enabling them to leverage delivery as an additional revenue stream. Kenya tourism industry bagged a total of 2.7 billion in additional value, supporting millions of tourist journeys. During the launch of the Economic Impact Report of 2023, Uber's head of East Africa, Imran Manji, highlighted their plan to leverage on technology to boost convenience to their consumers and support the country's economic growth.
The future of ride-hail looks bright in Kenya, and we are proud to have played a role in helping its building. The country and region have provided the perfect foundation to launch and nurture an on-demand economy and help bring to life the industry and government's goals for mobility and technological transformations.
Moment, ladies and gentlemen.
Winslaus Pamba for Prime Edition.
Hope that this will...
Now, Kenya investors have been encouraged to set up data centers and e-mobility shops at the special economic zones to attract foreign investors. Special Economic Zone Authority Chief Executive Officer Kenneth Chelule says these sectors have gained traction globally and there is need for local investors to tap into the available global capital to grow their startups.
Established by the Special Economic Zone Act of 2015 to promote, facilitate and to attract both foreign direct investment and domestic investments.
One of the sector that has really gained traction is the business processing outsourcing, which has potential to create so much employment. The other area is around financial services, business headquarters for companies, and lately there are two more which are slowly and strongly gaining traction. That's around data center and electronic vehicles assembly and manufacturing.
The investment tool has so far licensed 78 enterprises and created 7,000 direct jobs.
We are going to exchange some of the best practices in terms of governance of SEZ, financing of SEZ, enhancing capacity for workforce in SEZ, and generally all frameworks around SEZ. The best of the continent will be exchanging ideas, their expenses. You must be there to witness this kind of exchange.
To boost uptake, the Special Economic Zone Authority SEZA is leveraging international conferences to market the zone's incentives, including lower power tariffs and tax cuts. Father Chelule is urging local investors to onboard onto the zones to reduce the cost of doing business as well as enjoy product incubation before expansion into the international market.
SEZ provide you with that opportunity to build your case using the local market to the point where when you are told to export or when you get a market out there, you can give the Kenyan profile and your credential using your capacity to supply locally.
Kenya will for the first time host this year's International Africa Economic Zones Organization annual meeting slated for the 27th of November to the 29th that has attracted over 400 delegates from 48 countries.
We are urging you to work with the best, work with SEZ.
Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Well, and on that note, we wrap up business news. But don't go anywhere. On the other end of the studio, we have Bernard Kumu with the day's sports. My name is Wari Mujenga. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Over to you, Bernard.
Thank you so much, Nimo, and thank you for joining us on Sports this hour. I'm Bernardo Kumu. Let's begin with athletics, where the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council, in collaboration with Athletics Kenya, has organized the World AIDS Day Half Marathon set for this Sunday in Nairobi, with the aim of creating awareness on prevention of the spread of HIV/AIDS. The race, which will coincide with this year's celebration of World AIDS Day, will involve the half marathon, the 10-kilometer run, 5-kilometer family fun run, the 2-kilometer CO race, and the 10-kilometer wheelchair race.
NSDCC CEO Dr. Ruth Masha said they have also lined up other activities such as a candle lighting, memorial vigils and medical clinics, with proceeds from the race channeled towards people living with HIV drug injectable drugs.
We would like to leverage on what we've been doing for the last close to 40 years of addressing a disease a single disease that has been stubborn within our communities.
Athletics Kenya, the Nairobi branch, which is organizing the race, has called on both professional and amateur athletes to take up the opportunity and participate, owing to its good prize money structure and a platform to showcase their talent as Kenya join the rest of the world in the fight against the spread of the virus.
World AIDS is done all over the world. It's not only in Nairobi, and also other regions in this country also are organizing the event, and it is important that we succeed here in Nairobi, because this is a center, the epicenter of everything that is happening in this country is done in Nairobi, and we are ready to work with them.
Winners of the half marathon will be rewarded 250,000, with the first runners-up bagging 200,000 shillings and the second runners-up bagging 100,000. In the 10-kilometer race, the winner will pocket 100,000 shillings, with the first and second runners-up bagging 70 and 50,000 Kenya shillings respectively. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
And thank you, Dan, for that report. Moving on, Ugandan Samuel Were and Equity's Julie Mutisia emerged victorious in the 2024 Bungoma Open Chess Tournament. Now, the 2024 Chess Championship concluded with thrilling performances from players across 5 countries: Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, Algeria and South Sudan. Uganda chess champion Were emerged victorious in the open section, dethroning the defending champion Kenya's Mehul Gohil with an impeccable 6 points out of 6 score. Pre-tournament favourite Patrick Kawuma of Uganda faced unexpected resistance, being held to draw by the rising star Agot. In the ladies section, Julie Mutisi of Equity Bank lived up to her billing as the top seed, clinching victory with 5 points out of 6. The 2-day tournament attracted 150 chess players. It marked the final open tournament of the year, setting the stage for the prestigious National Chess Championship slated for December 11th to 15th at Makini School here in Nairobi.
2019 I've either finished first or second in the National Championship, but yes, the Bungoma Open event is just timely, right before, 2 weeks before the Nationals. It's important to gauge your form, where you could be going wrong, and it's just a tournament which allows you to make the necessary adjustments before the big one.
I think this is one of the very few tournaments I was in good shape. It's one of the very few tournaments that I've managed to go back with at least some bit of rating.
Ngoma Open this year has been impressive and very successful, having attracted about 150 participants from all parts of the country and also from our neighboring country.
To news across the borders, and this time it's soccer, where Thomas Souček and Aaron Wan-Bissaka scored as West Ham secured an impressive 2-0 win at Newcastle to ease pressure on manager Julen Lopetegui. Now the Spanish coach replaced David Moyes in the summer, but had endured a difficult start with just 3 wins from the Hammers' first 11 games.
Every Newcastle player in the box, and there's a line of 6 of them on the 6-yard line. Here's the corner, good header, and into the bottom corner from Thomas Souček. And Newcastle, having had a goal disallowed for offside, have now conceded. West Ham corner, delivery from Emerson, Souček with the header. Newcastle United 0, West Ham United 1. Bowen, right corner of the penalty area. Newcastle getting bodies back. Wan-Bissaka off the post and in. West Ham have doubled their advantage.
And to Syria A, where Keenan Davis' 76th minute goal denied Empoli a win after a 1-1 draw with Udinese. Meanwhile, Venezia were beaten 1-0 by Lecce after Patrick Dogu scored a late winning goal in another Syria A encounter. And yes, indeed, it is match day 5 out of 8 of the UEFA Champions League, and a number of matches ongoing. Some are just to kick up in about 3 minutes. That's PM East African time, but 2 matches, of course, have already ended, and Sparta are losing 6-0 at home to Atletico Madrid, while AC Milan escaping with 3-2 win against Slovan Bratislava. Remember, there are a couple of matches also playing from 11, including Arsenal, who are facing Sporting Lisbon, who are beginning the life with no Ruben Amorim. Meanwhile, the results will be coming in our subsequent bulletins tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernardo Kumu. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Bernardo Kocho Kumo there. Of course, Nemo also handled the business segment, and Manyara Regina also did a good job on the shift.
Our socials at KBC Channel 1, quite a good feedback, and let's do quite a number of acknowledgements. Andrew Murithi, Bernard Lagat, Eliud Samoy, thank you so much for your conversation on our Facebook and on YouTube. We have quite a number. Teresia Kimani saying you're tuned in from the county of Nairobi, and Lenny Davis from Orera Dala.
Orera Dala.
Yeah. Are you conversant with that name?
Dala, yes. Dala is somewhere in Nyanza.
All right.
Yeah, Dala.
Good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your feedback. My name is Mchuma Udin. Till some other time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I forgot to mention my name at the beginning of the bulletin. But I'll do that now. My name is Tom Boyer, and we wish you a pleasant viewing. Good night, and God bless.
Star 570 hash. Option